Nancy. Happy Heritage Week to you out there, and I hope that you're definitely celebrating. A very warm welcome to you. This is Afternoon Express, and it is time to celebrate our diverse cultures of all who live in Mzansi on this Afternoon Express Masterclass, inspired by Heritage Month, with me, Balisa Dembe. We're joined by the giggling gourmet, Jenny Morris, as we make a herby steamed bread with spinach, a lamb stew with butternut, and 2 tasty tarts for dessert. Remember to head over to our website if you want any details for any of the recipes that we're making today. But back in the loft is celebrity chef Jenny Morris, who recently suffered the tragic loss of her husband due to COVID-19. She joins us this evening to chat about her way of dealing with the grief and how she's continuing his legacy by doing what she loves best, which is cooking up a storm with us in the kitchen. Jenny, welcome back to the show.
It's so great to be in your loft.
It is. You know, Jenny, I feel like, one of those family members that every single time you come back, we just pick up where we left off. It feels like no time has passed, but so much has happened since we last saw you, Jenny.
Absolutely.
Our deepest condolences to you and the entire Morris family. We lost a soldier.
We did indeed. He was my general. He was my colonel. What's the highest rank you can get?
Yeah.
That was him.
And I think, whenever I think of David and everything that he was, not only to you, but even us here on Afternoon Express, he's already just sorely missed. I mean, let's go back to that. In June, he contracted COVID-19.
We got it together.
Talk to us about that.
We did everything together, darling, even COVID. You know what? It was frightening because we didn't even know we had it. And this is the thing with this disease. You can't ignore certain signs. David always had sinus. So he just thought, I got a bad case of sinus. I always have headaches, because my neck always jumps out. And I thought, I need to go and see the chiropractor. And we had been exposed to it. And when we found out we had been exposed to it, we quickly phoned the hospital, knew someone there. They said, wait 5 days, and we were fine.
Wow.
And we thought, we're going to be the lucky ones. And we had the test, and on day 6, oh my goodness, that was like everything hit the fan, literally. It was bad. It was really, really bad.
So then going through this, not only just feeling ill yourself, but watching your husband slowly but surely get weaker, slowly starting to deteriorate in terms of his strength and all the capabilities. What then happens to you in wife mode?
Well, do you know what happens in wife mode? I think your instinct is to nurture and to take care of. I'm going to get a bit emotional here, so just bear with me.
It's understandable.
But what happens is, you, as a wife, you feel absolutely hopeless. All you can do is speak to the people, and I have to say, and I'd like to mention the hospital, if I may. Christian Barnard Memorial Hospital were the most incredible people. Their staff, you have to appreciate the nurses and what they do. It's one thing to say, I had an operation, they were good to me. These people are working in the worst conditions with COVID, etc., etc. And he was in intensive care. By the time we got to the hospital, they immediately, his organs had started to collapse. I mean, his kidneys had failed, and COVID just loves organs. It played havoc, with his heart. I mean, he died eventually of a stroke. 40% of his brain was absolutely gone. But the whole time, fortunately, thank God for technology, because we had our cell phones. So between our wards, we were in hospital at the same time, we would talk. And then one day there was nothing. And I thought, his battery has gone flat. And it was just terrible because they'd put him on a ventilator.
Jenny, it seems impossible to be able to pick up the pieces from there. David was not only your best friend, not only your lover, not only your husband, but he was your business partner.
Yes.
In fact, I can almost say everything you accomplished in your career was with David by your side. So then how were you then able to pick up the pieces and continue business as unusual?
Well, business always, with David, it was always business as usual. We never put our cell phones off ever, And the thing is, like you say, he didn't like the limelight, but he was always the light behind me.
Yeah.
And business partners, 39 wonderful years together, you make plans. You think about the future, you plan ahead, and you know what you want. And obviously, all of this was in place, and I'm a strong woman, he would tell you. And I just thought, I'm going to pick up these pieces and just put this puzzle together. It's horrible to try and take something that's shattered and fix it. but I must fix it.
And here you are.
I am, and I miss him, and I feel the loss, and I'm sad, but I'm not depressed.
Okay.
Because I'm doing everything I know he would want me to carry on and do, so yeah.
Oh, shout out to David and his incredible memory and his legacy. But moving then to where we find ourselves today. I mean, you have had such an incredible career. Radio shows, TV shows, half a dozen recipe books. You are basically a woman who is just a phenomenon. You're a force to be reckoned with on your own. So what is there to be said by commitment, sticking to something, keeping focused, and just trusting yourself? How are you able to achieve such greatness?
You know what? Growing up, my father always said, start the way you're going to finish. And if you start something, you've got to finish it. So I will never take on more than I can chew, although I'm a greedy girl, if you look at me. But when it comes to delivering the goods, I always say, and this is just a message to anybody out there, is do what you do and do it properly. Don't take on more than you can handle. And this is what I'm doing. I'm just taking on what I can chew. You know, so whether it's taking on a project or whatever it is, and just do it properly.
I think that also, you know, I'm already taking notes because for someone like me who is relatively new in the industry, longevity is everything. I mean, you're hot one day, you're not the next, but someone like you, it seems like you're hot every day. No, I'm not just talking about your looks, girl.
My menopause.
You see, that sense of humor, I think that people just find so infectious. I think whenever you hang around Jenny, you just can't help but laugh and smile. And that laughter and all that smiling is going to be brought into the kitchen a little later. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what you've got planned?
What, in the kitchen or going forward?
Well, we're going to get to going forward towards the end of the show. We've got to give South Africa something to look forward to, you know. So stay tuned for finding out what Jenny's going to be getting into when I think we're wrapping up 2021. Crazy.
Yes.
But I'm in the kitchen for now.
Oh, for now, well, there's some deliciousness happening in that kitchen. And if you look at all those foods, it's all about heritage. And I know that for every single person out there, there's going to be something that just pulls at your heartstrings, just makes you remember. So these are all beautiful foods that we're going to cook with wonderful memories attached to it. And you mentioned tarts, and you mentioned beautiful steamed bread. I love pot bread.
Yeah.
And lovely stews, hearty stews. Yeah, mfeno. That's me. You know me, mfeno.
I know my girl. Well, Jenny, it's just such a blessing to not only be able to sit down with you today, but also to celebrate heritage with you, as you are just such a very strong part of not only Cordova culture, but also us here at Afternoon Express. But on social media, this is what we want to ask all of our viewers. Heritage Day is just around the corner, so what's a dish that best represents your heritage? Remember to use that hashtag Afternoon Express in all of the comments. Now, today we're making the Afternoon Express's team's favorite heritage meals. And coming up, we're starting with Chef Dumi's Herbie steamed bread with spinach.
Express yourself.
back to Afternoon Express. And Dumi, I mean, finally, girl, every time I see your face, I just get happy.
I'm glad you do, because that's the whole idea of having me in your kitchen, to give you happiness.
Now, not only are we just celebrating with you, but we're also celebrating our heritage with Jenny Morris. Now, Jenny, you've got something special, ne?
Mm-hmm.
She's always got
One
the
of my
tricks.
favorites.
And let me tell you about that favorite. I mean, many of us grew up with itombolo or steamed bread, and I'm sure it just brings back so many happy memories. So this recipe is just a herby steamed bread with spinach. It's Chef Dumi's favorite heritage dish. And of course, it is certainly going to get the whole family just reminiscing about all those incredible memories. Now, Dumi, I can already see you got the pots going, girl, so what do we need?
It's very important, Palisa, to make sure, before we get our steamed bread going, we need to make sure the water starts boiling, because we're steaming our steamed bread, Palisa. And all I'm needing here, we're calling it herby because I'm adding herbs into the actual steamed bread. Most times people think that the steamed bread can just be plain, the flour and nothing else. There's so much flavor that you can pack into it, and this is the perfect vehicle for that. I've got my flour, and into this I'm going to add all the necessities for a steamed bread, like yeast and sugar and salt. But then I'm also adding some thyme into my steamed bread, and you could use any other hard herb that could also work. And instead of using water, I'm using some lukewarm Good Hope soy milk, Palisa. And you know this is the perfect dairy alternative. If you're trying to, perhaps get off normal dairy, you can actually use this in any application. You could use it in bacon, you could use it in cooking. So in this instance, I'm using it in my steamed bread today, Palisa.
What I love about the Clover Good Hope soy milk is that it's just made of the highest quality, non-GMO and naturally grown whole soybeans. Just ticking those boxes, making sure that it's also vegan friendly. I mean, it's just naturally dairy, cholesterol free, as Dumi has mentioned. It's also, though, preservative free.
Not only are we using it in our dombolo or steamed bread, Jenny, you're also going to be making umfino or spinach for us, and
Yes.
we're also using it in there as well.
Absolutely. So it's totally vegan.
Totally vegan.
Talk us through what's in front of you, Jenny.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this up, which I should do now, actually, I think. Yes. So you can keep the bowl. I've got some beautiful, just listen to that crunchy. Beautiful spinach, and I've got some onions, and we've got oil and garlic and some ginger and some turmeric, really nice. Some barbecue spice, a little bit of curry powder, salt, pepper, and just the littlest bit of sugar to kick this all off with. And we're going to cook it down till it's nice and creamy. You see, and everybody thinks cream spinach could just needs to be with cream, but it doesn't, darling, because what have we got?
We've got some soy milk to use.
Yes.
You know, having these alternatives for me makes all the difference. At the end of the day, we are celebrating something that is Dumi's favorite, but I think it's safe to say it's everyone's favorite. I love myself itombolo and ucheke. We grew up calling it also ucheke at the end of the day. And it just really is very reminiscent of all those memories growing up. So I'd also love to hear you share your memories with us on our social media pages. How hot does your pan need to be?
You know what, you want it to be nice and hot so that you get the caramelization happening. And we're going to quickly put our spices in so that they start to release their lovely flavors. I'm going to go in with the ginger. I'll put the garlic last, because you know garlic can burn. And the turmeric and the curry powder and the barbecue spice, because you want that lovely depth of flavor. And if you like chili, you could add a couple of chilies or chili powder to this. Just look at this, it's smelling divine.
That's such a good idea, just adding whatever elements that you do want, depending on whatever flavor you want to come out. And then you just put the spinach in there.
And see, the spinach has got a very high water content. And if you look at this now and you say, oh my goodness, my spices might burn, you just take a little bit of a little good herb and we stop it from continuing to cook out. So give it a little one of these.
And Palisa, this is the perfect alternative, especially if you've got people that are vegan at home or that are lactose intolerant. It's the perfect type of ingredient to use, because you don't have to exclude anyone from this type of dish. I love me some creamy spinach, and I know that if I'm going to have it, I don't necessarily want to be limited with the stuff that I can enjoy. This is why it's so perfect for that. Now, the biggest part with our dombolo, it's been proving, as you can see, all those air bubbles inside of there. I'm going to knock out that air. As you saw in our bread week, Palisa, we showed people exactly how to make bread. Now we're knocking out the air, and then I'm just going to roll it into a nice little beautiful ball, set it into our steamer, and let that steam for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then voila, that beautiful ball of steamed bread that you have in front of you, Palisa, that's what we're aiming for.
Okay, that is what I want. I mean, it looks amazing. It looks so delicious here at Dumi. And I love the fact that you can literally see the specks. Hey, Jenny, you can literally see the specks of time.
And you know what, gave it the little tongue, not the tongue tip test, because that's coming later, but I gave it a little bit of a pat, because I thought, is that going to be hard or heavy? It's beautiful and light. So, and I had sterilized fingers when I touched it, just for your own information.
Very important news, very important news. This is coming together quite nicely. You did say a tinge of that sugar goes in. Why sugar?
Because the sugar just, like salt, it balances it out, and especially like with the spinach. Spinach has got quite a harsh flavour for people who've never had spinach before, and if it's like their little introduction to their new thing, and it's just that it works beautifully with the spices, you know. So
and slowly but surely you have been adding the clover Good Hope into the whole mixture. I mean, it is just so easy to enjoy, and I love the fact that Utumi said you can even enjoy it in cereal just on its own. That's how delicious it is.
It is, Balisa, and all we're going to do now, I'm going to pop our dombolo, our steamed bread, into the steamer here. It's going to cook down, steam beautifully for 35 to 40 minutes, and then that's it, Balisa. Simple, easy, and let that spinach cook down, and it's a meal.
yes.
Whilst everything is simmering down, get this recipe at afternoonexpress.co.za.
Soy goodness from nature. Source of plant protein. Naturally cholesterol-free, lactose-free. Made with love by Clover.
Food and culture play a large role when it comes to our heritage. In light of celebrating our heritage, we visited chef and cookbook author Usiphokazi Mdlankomo while she shares her delicious umleqwa hard-body chicken heritage recipe with us.
My name is Usiphokazi Mdlankomo. I'm a chef / a home cook. Cooking for me started while I was working as a domestic worker. When you work for different families, they eat different foods, so that's when my love for food started. After watching cooking shows on TV, and I fell in love with cooking, and I was like, oh, okay, let me just enter the cooking shows. Maybe I'm gonna learn something from them. Then I enter cooking shows. Then that's when I've learned some different techniques, you know, from the cooking shows, different techniques of cooking. I've learned a lot. So then I said to myself, this is what I love doing. Today we'll be making umleqwa, a runaway chicken with a samp salad. So I'm gonna be showing you the steps on how to make umleqwa. And I'm gonna cut it to make it into a spatchcock. Then you need a pot of boiling water. I already have some water here boiling. Then you're gonna add your carrots, some onions, some bay leaves, some celery, peppercorns, salt, and some parsley stalks. Then you add in your chicken, you let it cook there up until it's nice and soft. Today I'll be making umleqwa, which is a runaway chicken with a samp salad. And the color I'll be using is green. I love green because green is something that's bright, fresh. It just makes everything pop. Today I'll be making a samp salad, but I'm gonna make it into a modern way so that other people can be able to enjoy it. So now I'm gonna be making the samp salad. So I'm just gonna take my samp, which is already cooked. Then I'm gonna take my corn, remove it from the cob, add some red kidney beans, which are already drained, add some chopped tomatoes, some chopped onion, and I'm just gonna chop my avocado, then mix everything together. Then I'll make the dressing on the side, which is olive oil and some fresh herbs and some lemon juice, salt and pepper, and you just bind your salad with the dressing and you have a beautiful samp salad. Food means family. Food means friends to me because food, it brings those two things together. Just home-cooked meals, that's my kind of food. And my favorite cuisine is Italian cuisine because it's so simple. You use fresh ingredients. You have 4 to 5 ingredients. Then you have a meal on the table. That's why I love it. All right, and let me check my chicken. I think it's ready. It's been cooking for 1.5 hours. it is ready. So the next step now is to just remove it from the broth or stock. You can call it broth or stock. Remove it from the stock. Then I'm just gonna heat a pan, add some oil, fry some onions, some tomatoes, then put the chicken in the onions and tomatoes, then fry it up until it's nice and golden brown. Then I'm also gonna use some of the stock for the chicken to cook the chicken, because remember it needs to cook for another 30 minutes because it's hard-boiled chicken. Being in the kitchen, to me, oh my goodness, it makes me very happy. I can cook with my eyes closed, you know. That's how I love being in the kitchen. That's how I love being in front of the stove. Cooking is my passion. Cooking is me. It is just me. I love cooking, and it makes me happy. Now what's left to do is to plate my Sam salad and to add a touch of green, and the meal is ready to be served.
Pokazi Siswam, my stomach is already rumbling. That looks delicious. And it is my turn to share my favorite heritage-inspired meal. So when we come back, we're whipping up a hearty lamb stew served with oven-roasted butternut.
Express yourself.
Get an insurance quote for your home or car and stand a chance to win one of 8 Samsung Galaxy S21 phones plus 100 gigs of Standard Bank mobile data for a year. To enter, SMS the keyword motor to 31492 to get a call back and quote, and you could be a winner.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express, and we are still celebrating heritage as we are slowly creeping up towards the 24th. Now, Tumi, we've already done your favorite heritage dish.
We have?
Now, there is nothing like dipping itombolo or ujeke into a beautiful stew. And that's now where my favorite recipe comes in. Today, we're making heritage comfort food at its best. And this is my favorite soul food, a lamb stew served with a oven roasted butternut. I mean, it's hearty, it is delicious, and it is everything I love. Meat, veggies, Boom. Now, Dumi, I'm going to give you the responsibility
And I accept.
of taking us through this recipe.
I accept this challenge because I know my job here on this platform is to bring joy not only to South Africa but to these beautiful women that I'm cooking with in the kitchen today. And so what better way to do that than to take your recipe and try and make it as great as best as you do, my darling.
Yeah, well, good luck. What do we need, though?
So I'm on the meat station today. I'm going to be making that lamb stew that you're talking about. And Jenny, you're going to be making our pumpkin or butternut. I mean, Balisa, growing up, we used to sing a song, you know those songs, Mukopu kiwamang, kiwanda. So we used to use mukopu, which is pumpkin, but now, you know, as times have developed, we're now using butternut because I feel like whenever there's savory, there has to be a sweet, there has to be a salty, there has to be a... So that's where the butternut comes in. So I'm going to start with our meat, adding a bit of oil into our pot here, and as normally people, what they do is they'd want to brown the meat beforehand, but I feel like because it's a heritage meal, it's one of those I'm just going to go with it as is and just add everything into the pot, just make sure I build the levels of flavor.
Beautiful. And on your station, Jenny, what are you up to?
Well, I'm going to really literally just take these butternuts, quarter them, or you can halve them. I'm a greedy girl, but I'll go quarters so the whole family can get to eat. Take out these seeds, don't waste them. You know, if you want to, you could just roast them on the side. Really, really delicious. And we're going to put a bit of heat in it and some thyme. It's almost like a Cajun thing. Are you going to like this? You better like it.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. At the end of the day, you know, I was just like, I love myself you know, the cream spinach that you made earlier, along with butternut. It is a classic for me.
Yes.
I think that every South African loves it as a side as well.
I agree with you, Balisa. I agree. And I think the one other thing that's going to take this dish a little bit of a notch up is the fact that we're going to be using our Clover Classic mayo in the dish, Balisa. I'm going to be adding it into our stew because I don't know if you know this, but sometimes whenever you're adding mayo into a dish, it adds that little bit of tanginess that you need in the dish. It sort of balances it out.
Moisture as well.
Exactly. And the perfect thing about the Clover Classic is that it's got 3 levels of tanginess, from that mild to the strong, all the way to the very strong one. And I know, Balisa, you like your stuff tangy, you like flavor. If it's not tangy, you like it spicy, you want to make sure you feel that taste. So today we're going to be keeping it level and just keeping the medium level today. So to continue with our stew, before I go on and talk too much, I'm going in with my garlic, and then I'm going in with the rest of my ingredients, just using some beef stock and some curry powder, and then adding the meat and everything else. Bali, just a note though, you're cutting up the carrots, yeah?
Yeah.
May I please ask you to cut them up the same size as the potatoes, because we want to make sure that they... It's okay, we can start again. Because we want to make sure that these cook at the same time. If not, then the only trick is add the potatoes first and then the carrots. It's okay.
Okay, let me have a look at that and see, just so that I know exactly. So little baby potatoes, I can do that. Challenge accepted, Dumi, but nothing goes to waste. So I'll just be chomping on this, what I've already done on my side. So what has gone into your pestle and mortar, Jenny? And what
I've done is I've got some lovely chili flakes and I've got some coriander seed, which I absolutely love, and some fresh thyme. And I'm just going to pop this oil onto here because we don't want it to be too sort of saturated with oil. We want it just to have it cling. And then I'm going to just crumble that all over the top, and you're going to love it.
Beautiful. I can also imagine just also, as you're talking about crumbling some feta when it's all said and done. On top of that, that's amazing.
Definitely.
And you know what would work beautifully with this as well is just maybe a little bit of sugar just over the top, because it will just give that slight caramelization. I say take the recipe and own it. You're taking this recipe and owning it. So our listeners, I mean our viewers can take the recipe and just own it and do your own thing. Can you smell this garlic?
I can smell it from here. And I don't know if you can smell the tanginess of my mayo all the way from here. And the reason I'm adding it at the very beginning with our meat is because, you know, obviously mayonnaise is always made with some oil in there. So it's also going to release some of its own oils into the dish, making sure that it also saturates our meat and gives it that beautiful tangy flavor, but lets it cook beautifully and tender.
Well, look at me, girls. This is so ready for the oven.
That looks beautiful.
That actually looks like a masterpiece. I almost don't want to touch it.
Well, you're going to touch it later.
No, listen, I'm going to devour it later. Let's not get that twisted. Now, Dumi, on my side, I think I'm almost done with my veggies. At what stage, then, would your veggies go in, especially because you put such emphasis on it being the same size so that everything cooks through at the same time?
All right, if you're going with chunkier veggies, it is always best to try and if you like very chunky, you can put them in at the end with the meat, depending on how big and what kind of meat you're cooking. These ones, I also do suggest add it towards the end, just so you still get that texture. You never want your veggies to be overcooked.
No.
So I always just suggest adding it at the end. So even the peas would go at the end, but we just want to show you exactly what would go into our stew here. So the peas would also go towards the end once everything is cooked. Well, in fact, once the stew is cooked, that's when you'd add your peas. Cover it with some water because we've added some beef stock in there. I've added a stock cube into the stew. Let it cook down. After this, you cover it. Let it cook down, Palesa. Don't keep opening it. Don't let the steam release. We don't want it to release. And then you're going to have a beautiful stew like the one I've got over here that I'm going to dish up beautifully with some of this butternut that we've made. Let me just plate.
Stunning, delectable, and absolutely scrumptious. I'm very much looking forward to diving into this. And I'm so glad that I trusted my homegirl Utumi just to talk me through it. Because yes, I do love a good stew, but I don't want to mess it up. So if you want to make sure that you also get all the tips and tricks, please do head over to afternoonexpress.co.za.
There is a classic mayonnaise that brings out the traditional French in 3 levels of tanginess. The mild classic, the medium classic, the strong classic. Tangy the way you love it.
Made with love by Clover.
Jenny, when it comes to creating the most perfect stew and getting it right every single time, what would your top tip be?
The pot. The pot needs to be the right size. You know what's good is you to throw your meat in before you start, so you can see that it's not too big, because the bigger the pot, the more evaporation it reduces, and the meat gets very fibrous, and you keep adding water. You want to keep that succulence. It must do this in the sauce, yeah.
You basically want your meat to hug each other, all that ingredient just to come in. Beautiful tip, Jenny, thank you.
And it works.
And it works. That's what counts. Now, desserts is so nice, we are making it twice. We've got the first of our 2 tarts headed your way, so stick around for our peppermint tart recipe.
Express yourself.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, Jenny, we're about to get onto dessert station, which I am so here for. But how's the show been so far? You're just loving the recipes?
I'm loving the recipes. I can't wait for the tasting.
Jenny's like, get to the point. Well, right away. Heritage Day is a day we all look forward to, and something tells me it has more to do with the food than anything else. One dish that features in a lot of households is the peppermint tart. Now, we know that you are just going to continue these celebrations. You cannot do so without this recipe. Now, Dumi, there's just a whole lot of deliciousness in front of me. Please break it down.
A whole lot, and Palisa is not talking about the three ladies in the kitchen. We're talking about the ingredients that go into our peppermint tart. And always, Palisa, you know there has to be a base of tea biscuits and some chocolate and a caramel filling. And luckily, Jenny's going to be showing us how to make that filling that's, you know, that gives us that carameliness of it. I'm going to chop up some of the chocolate that has that peppermint in it that's going to flavor it, and then just do the assembly of the base.
Voila! I mean, Jenny, this is a fan favorite for a reason. So how are you going to be creating that filling?
Well, you know what I'm going to do first is, I mean, this just comes out of a can, so you can buy this caramel in a can, or you could make your own, but who wants to do that?
Ain't got the time.
Yeah, ain't got the time, baby. And what we do here is I just want to loosen it up a little bit and just soften it. Soften it nicely. So when I add the whipped cream to it, it's just going to come together beautifully. So, and literally, we're going to just add some beautiful whipped cream.
That looks so velvety, so light, so airy. And is that what we're looking for?
This is what we're looking for. Look at that. I've made one already. It's beautifully settled, ready for Tumi to work her magic. But look at that. Isn't that just too divine for words?
It looks incredible. So basically, 1 + 1 = 2.
Yes, darling. 1 + 1 equals
Equals Now, Dumi, what makes this dessert such a winner?
Palisa, it's got to be the flavors in there, Palisa. You've got the creaminess of the filling, that caramel feeling that we've got in there. You've got the crunchiness of the base that we're using tea biscuits. And then you've got that refreshing peppermint flavor from the peppermint chocolate. If you can't find peppermint chocolate, you can always buy the essence. But I feel like you need that texture. You need to bite onto something for it to give you that flavor, because that's what it's all about. And this is what I love about the peppermint tart, Palisa. It's absolutely divine.
So you basically need to have that crunch, but you also, you know, having the flavor also, I think, is what elevates any kind of dessert or any kind of dish, really. So I think it's nice to add that actual crunchy mint, that peppermint element into it. I know we're just reminiscing here at the end of the day, going back into our memories, going back to our culture, our heritage, and how we were raised. And you know, with a peppermint tart, how I was introduced to a peppermint tart is that my cousin Uzageti, at every single bring and share, she was always like, I'm on dessert station, pick me, I want to do dessert. And we all just like, why are you always so excited to make dessert? It's because she had a very quick, easy, definitely a crowd pleaser when it comes to dessert, and she'd always whip up this delicious peppermint tart. Now, I want to find out, Dumi, if your peppermint tart is gonna level up to Zageti's.
I definitely hope it does, because I put in a whole lot of heart and soul in here. I mean, a whole lot of sweat and tears. You better tell me if I'm measuring up, my darling.
There's some Jenny love in it as well.
Of course.
Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up. Jenny, Dumi, incredible. Now, what I like about this is that I'm not really a fan of peppermint that much. I think that it's a very overwhelming taste. But I think that you were able to balance it out quite lovely. And I do love some chocolates. So I love this, Jenny. Thanks.
And the one thing I also love about this, Jenny, is the fact that because we're adding some cream in there to, in essence, dilute the sweetness of the caramel sauce. Like you said, Bala, if you don't like it too sweet, add more cream, because then you're able to balance it as you wish.
And who would like to use essence? You sell yourself short. I mean, this is a lady's dish. This is all about chocolate.
And decadence. I mean, this is just tastes. I'm still going to sit down at the end of the show and enjoy the rest of our meal that we've created. Jenny, I love your top tips. I think that you're always able to give succinct, straight to the point kind of explanations when it comes to being in the kitchen. You're able to even, you know, dumbify it for people like me who are, sorry, I mean, I'm slow. What is your top tip when it comes to creating the perfect tart?
Well, for me, the perfect tart, once again, is when you read a recipe, if it says 1 can of this and 250 mils of this, use the right size dish. Because if you're going to use a baking dish or a dish that's that size for this amount of ingredients, you're going to get like this. But look at the beautiful dish that we've used. So you get, look what Tumi has here. So you'll get a beautiful cut out of it. So just remember, size does count when it comes to how much ingredients you're using.
I can imagine just if you do decide to serve it up as slices, it would come out in a perfect little, a perfect little chunk,
Yes,
Tumi?
definitely, Palisa. That's why we also give you the option of individual ones, like the one you've got right in front of you,
Yeah.
or a huge crowd-pleasing one that's for the family and those bring-in shares that you were talking about.
And do you know, it freezes so well, darling.
Really?
It freezes like you cannot believe. Oh, yes.
But then when it defrosts, does it
No,
not get
you make it in a loaf tin and you cut it at the table frozen from the thing. It's delicious.
Okay, well, to get in on this deliciousness, please do head over to afternoonexpress.co.za for the full ingredients list and for this tantalizing dish. Now, milk tart is enjoyed across the country by many, and we've got a yummy recipe you would definitely want to try when we return.
Express yourself.
Our pharmacies are on the front line of healthcare. This is Pharmacy of the Week.
I come from a long family of pharmacists. You know, it goes back to my grandfather. My mother was a pharmacist. So, and medicine is in the family. I'm actually really somebody who enjoys pharmacy. I enjoy the community. I enjoy being part of the community. It's not just about medicine. As a pharmacist, you're really at the front line. You're the person where people come to you. They ask you your questions. You're the person who can direct them to the doctor or say, no, this isn't something that you can just treat yourself. The last couple of weeks have highlighted the fact that people don't have money. To go and say, just go and see your doctor is not an easy thing. And so preventative health care is becoming more and more important. The COVID-19 period has been really hectic. I've seen on my staff the emotional drain that it's had. We've had people who have been infected coming in as staff members and who we've had to send to isolate. We've been very blessed that we've only had one person who has actually contracted it in the pharmacy, all right. I think the underlying thing has been the uncertainty and the fear that's been the problem also, all right.
Pharmacy of the Week, proudly brought to you by Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express, where we did promise you 2 delicious desserts. So now we're ready to cook up recipe number 2. Heritage Day is just something that every family member looks forward to each year. From the hustle and bustle in the kitchen, preparing the meat for the braai, or the delicious favorite family meal that you know will always end with the appearance of South Africa's favorite dessert, a milk tart. Now, although Heritage Day may be different this year, with not all family members being able to gather around and enjoy a meal together, all is definitely not lost, because Jenny Morris is here and she's going to show us a great milk tart recipe that will take you back to those fond family memories and make you feel right at home no matter where you are. And that is what I'm here for. I'm already feeling that, you know, that warmth of family. I feel like I'm already in Durban. I'm not even in Durban. So when you do think of just these heritage recipes, and not only heritage recipes, but just where milk tarts transports you to.
Oh, yeah, I do. I have a little bit of fear and nostalgia. Nostalgic fear, because I had a granddad who was an amazing baker. My father's mother was not a very good baker, but she did kind of do some baking. So what happened was he would call us every afternoon and say, Suki, where's your shoes? He'd make crumpets, but sometimes on a Sunday we would have milk tart that our Grandpa Bob had put together. And you know that Queen of Hearts who made some tarts all on a summer's day, and then the Knave of Hearts stole the tarts? Well, this little tart, what she did was, I scraped off the tart. I liked the custard. And I did, and I ate it. And you know what it's like, Tommy, when you're a child, you don't realize the extent of the damage that you're doing, because it's just so yummy, yummy, nice, nice, nice. And so you carry on and do it. And I really had a warm backside, because that grandmother didn't use a spoon. She used the small of her hand, but all that, I suppose it all ended well in the end, because I loved baking with Grandpa Bob, and he said, don't worry, my sweetheart, my little Suki, I will teach you how to make a milk tart. And he used to do it with, not with pastry, but he used to do it with a short crust pastry, so it was very biscuity. Ooh. Yes, and I didn't like doughy things in those days. That's why I did that custard. Oh my goodness, you just don't understand.
That is such a fond memory. I'm actually just imagining little Jenny running around with the little milk tart in her.
I wasn't so little.
But when you do think of baking with Grandpa Bob, you said.
Yes, Grandpa Bob Cannon.
I mean, I'm just sure that your heart melts.
I love him. I used to give that old man a hard time. He'd take me to the paddling pool, and it would be like on every ride, and he'd have to run after me and pay, because I just, you know, I was like a little Wild West show.
You do your own thing.
Oh, always. But he was just the most incredible person, and a lot of it, as much as my father cooked beautifully, that Grandpa Bob really instilled the love of cooking, because he also let me, I was young, you know, and he allowed me into the kitchen with him. So yeah.
What does that do for you?
You know what it does? I get sad sometimes when I see a naartjie, because I can just see, really, because I can see we had naartjie trees in his garden, and he used to pick it and open it and give you one little segment, one little cell, and say, put that on your tongue and let it burst. And he just taught me so much about food, you know. So milk tart has a very, very special place in my heart. Oh.
To me, as we just all gush listening to Jenny's stories, I mean, I feel like I was even part of the Morris family back then, you know, getting up to that mischief. And for yourself, Tumi?
My grandmother used to love baking, Palisa. I've mentioned this before. Utu Koko used to love making scones. She used to like making biscuits. And whenever she was baking, I was never too far off. I mean, that's why I think I became this little round little blob of cuteness that I am, because she would always just make sure Gucci, she makes some extra for me, because she knew I loved her baking. I loved her scones specifically to this day. Whenever my mom and I and my family come together, we always say that no one has ever made a scone as deliciously as she did, because she used to use irama, Palisa, and I don't know what it is. You know, there's always talk about a secret ingredient. Yeah. I don't know what exactly she put in there, because I know she put rama, I know she put the flour and all those things, but there was just something about her scones. They were just so flaky and just not too sweet, but not too bland as well. Never dry. Okay. One thing was definitely sure is never those scones that you'd have and need to take 3 days to recover from. It's not one of those, Palisa. But yeah, just listening to Jenny talk about Grandpa Bob, I imagine Namu Koko, Elizabeth, and all her beautiful memories in the kitchen, Palisa.
I love the fact that you said that the secret ingredient in that recipe was the rama. Like, what I love about rama is that nothing beats undeniably delicious homemade baking with rama, and that's exactly what we're using in this recipe today. the conversation of inclusion, the conversation of being let into the kitchen at a very young age, for me, I get very inspired thinking about all of that. Not only do I get inspired because it essentially says that even the next generation can come up, and I think that also speaks so truly, not only to Heritage Day, not only to this milk tart recipe, but just the incredible versatility that Rama also has as a product. I mean, getting everyone involved, this is exactly what it's all about. It adds that unique, undescribable, taste across a variety of applications, whether you are spreading it, whether you are topping it, cooking it, and in this case, baking.
Yes, definitely, Palisa. And I love the fact that in this instance, instead of putting it into the baked good, we're actually layering it up because I've put specks of Rama in here so that it creates that beautiful steam. So in essence, the steam, the Rama, and the puff pastry are working together just to give you a beautiful dish. And it actually reminds me a lot of my grandmother right now.
Well, my heart is definitely melting, and I'm so excited about that. Hopefully, my heart melts just like that Rama, because at the end of the day, it is available in a tub and brick formats for your ready-to-enjoy convenience. And since we are celebrating all things Mzansi and South Africa, this is a brand that is just much loved by so many across the country. Truly generational, generational, generational goodness. And to get your hands on this delicious recipe, please do visit afternoonexpress.co.za and taste the love wherever you are. Now, don't forget, Rama is giving away another grocery voucher to the value of 800 Rand. To stand a chance of winning this week's competition, tell us what your favorite heritage dish is on the Afternoon Express Show Facebook or Twitter pages with the hashtag Rama Taste the Love. This week's competition closes at midday on Monday, the 27th of September. T's and C's apply and can be found on afternoonexpress.co.za.
Wherever food is made with love, you'll find Rama. Taste the love.
We are ready to eat. We are ready to dive in. All of our heritage-inspired food. Dumi, what did we make?
Sorry, I just had to do that. But so I've got a beautiful array of dishes here. We started off with that simple but decadent herby steamed bread that we made, that we paired with our spinach that had some onions in there, some spices, all that beauty in it. And then we went on to your favorite, which is that lamb stew that we made with the butternut, the sweetness from the butternut, the saltiness from the lamb stew. And then we did it twice. We got two desserts because we got the peppermint tart and we've got our milk tart. I wanted to make sure I get it right this time, milk tart.
Okay, girl. Well, let's dive in. What do I want? I want all of it, actually.
Yes, but all on the same plate.
Well, whilst I get my greedy on, I mean, Jenny, I did promise South Africa a question.
Yes.
I want to find out from you, having to change, reinvent yourself and change your business model, what can we expect from you moving forward?
Well, I have changed my business model completely, actually. I have pivoted. Now what I'm doing is I have a little film studio at home, so I do videos, and I have your plate, darling. I do videos and I do all kinds of wonderful things from the comfort and the safety of my home.
Of your own home, wow. Well, I also do imagine that with being on social media as well, how is your social media presence now? Last time we spoke, you were TikTok queen.
Oh, yes, I'm verified and certifiable.
Wow.
I've got about 50 million something. Yeah, I can show it to you on my phone.
Wow.
Yes.
That is absolutely incredible.
There
And
you
I think that is something that so many business owners now are starting to tap into as well. I mean, you've been someone that's had 2 restaurants, I do believe.
Yes, 2 restaurants, cooking school. It's just very hard with COVID, because you know what happens with COVID is nobody wants to go out. I mean, even our corporates, who are wonderful supporters and they're fabulous customers, they cannot afford to have their whole staff. If one person comes down, that's it. Doors are shut. So we're doing lovely boxes are being delivered to. And so if you want to motivate your staff, keep the momentum up. We just do it online. We go Zooming, baby. It's really, really good. Would you like some of this,
Yes,
sweetheart?
definitely. I'd like to.
And I've got a new book coming. So book number 7 is in the pipeline.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Yes, yeah. It's
exciting
good.
stuff.
Yeah. So book number 7, I'm excited to say. And just, my catering and the things that I do, and I always was thinking I could be the most amazing granny. There's some children out there, so if you want to rent a granny, this is her. or
I
find
love
me
it.
a rich grandpa.
Okay, girls.
No one could ever take the place of my old man. But what I'm saying is, you know, you reinvent yourself, you do stuff, you don't stagnate. You make stuff happen.
That's what it's all about. Well, if you have in your cookbook anything close to what you've dished up for us here today, I cannot wait to just get into all of those recipes. This food is delicious. The lamb stew, obviously, that's what I had to start with.
Yes.
The tastiness, the meat is so tender, Jenny. I love the fact that you gave us the tip of hugging the pot, because that's exactly what happened. Please do cut. Dumi, how's it going there?
It's delicious, but I can't even speak.
Well, on that note, as we do wrap it up, thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us. And thank you so much, Dumi, for always bringing magic in the kitchen. Join us again this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. as Olympic Chef Dion joins us for more heritage-inspired meals. But until then, Mzansi, good night. Stay safe and happy eating.
Bye.
Here's to the season of sunny breakfasts, healthy lunch breaks in the great outdoors, and romantic sunset dinners. Made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.